are set to address the media any minute from now. From Kilimo House as well, Agriculture CS Peter Munya is addressing the media. Of course, those are some of the stories that we are following up for you. But more than that, the Ministry of Agriculture has issued final tea regulations meant to revitalize the production of tea in the country. Agriculture CS Peter Munya says the proposal in the report among them will chart a way forward on how to deal with corruption, exploitation of farmers, and conflict of interest. The CS is currently still addressing the media. Let's cross over there and listen in.
Look at the subsidiaries that KTDA has created, all those subsidiaries. Some are even created to buy equipment, the latest. There's one for buying machinery and equipment. Is that what KTDA is supposed to be doing? They have not bought any from what I hear. But they are thinking, what other burden can we put on the farmer? Oh, this is farmers' money. All that money you hear is lost, 7 billion lost in a bank that has collapsed. Farmers' money. Hii ingine inaitwa feather. Feather, what is it called? Yes, hiyo ya kupea wakulima mkopo, which is over 12%. It's in his own money. They keep the money, then they put it in a SACCO, in a microfinance, then they tell the farmer, borrow there. Then they delay paying the farmer. And they make more money. But there's all that they are doing on behalf of the farmer. Remember? They are saying it is the farmer we are working for. You lend me my own money because you don't want to pay me when you have sold the tea. That's why you have said you must pay them every month. And you must deposit that money in the farmer's account in the factory within 14 days after you have sold. Why? Because the money is sold, then no declaration to the farmer that tea has been sold. Tea is sold every week. Actually, twice every week, isn't it? Twice every week. So why do you take that long to pay the farmer? It's because you want to trade with the money. Then you create a subsidiary for trading. Then in the balance sheet, that subsidiary, the profit made is never declared to the farmer. So the farmer, bonus iko shinda. Hakuna price.
Well, that is Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya addressing the media, of course informing the sector of how the tea sector will be able to fight corruption amongst the issues that are bedeviling the tea sector. Nonetheless, members of parliament and lawmakers allied to the Jubilee Party are currently addressing the media at the National Assembly, that is parliament. Let's cross over there as well and listen in to what the lawmakers are saying.
Independence of the judiciary, neutralize the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and paralyze the National Assembly. This nefarious scheme shall be undertaken using the now familiar tactics of intimidation, blackmail, and extortion of judicial officers and members of the National Assembly. Threats of recall and removal, threats to life, withdrawal of personal security, targeted harassment of family members, including spouses and children, are among the many dangerous and illegal means that security agencies intend to use to achieve their ends. There are also arrangements to apprehend members of parliament of fabricated charges by the Director of Criminal Investigations, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and the Kenya Revenue Authority in order to wear out the leaders by shuttling them between the courts and police stations in the name of trumped-up charges. The intention is to inflict immense stress and anxiety on affected persons to the point of exhaustion and to inflict actual harm upon others. Some members of parliament have reported credible threats to their lives to the DCI, yet nothing was done by the way of meaningful investigations. As if this is not enough, we are aware of plans to eliminate certain members of parliament in retaliation and as a warning to others over their political views. An elite squad was recently disbanded by the DCI after details of plans to harm political leaders leaked out. You will recall that reports of threats to the life of the Deputy President have never been investigated for nearly a year. Instead, there has been a lot of diversionary activity and intimidation. As part of the cover-up, one Mr. Dennis Itumbi was arrested and detained at length, only to be charged with obscure and irrelevant offenses. To date, there have been no credible investigation into the veracity of the Hotel Lamada assassination plot claims against the Deputy President. This country only recently emerged from troubled history of vicious impunity, unresolved political murders, and outright assassination in pursuit of corrupt political and other ends. The institutions we look to for protection against violations and excesses are being captured, cannibalized, compromised, and commandeered to reverse into a terrible past. We are being led back to a gunpoint, to a place we swore never to visit again, by people who swore to defend and uphold the Constitution. The reason why security for vocal and independent leaders has been withdrawn is to make them easier to harm through discreet attempts such as poisoning, apparent accidents, and seemingly ordinary robbery incidents. All this notwithstanding, we must, and we do, and will forge ahead without hesitation, fear, or regret. We reiterate our commitment to uphold our Constitution and defend the rule of law. To this end, we shall not only resist attempts by a selfish cabal of brokers to destroy a publicly funded national party, but also defend our democracy as vigorously and courageously as necessary to defeat the agents of plunder and mayhem. We shall also protect the integrity and independence of institutions like Parliament, ODPP, the Inspector General of the National Police, and the Judiciary, and fight hard for their space and resources to operate optimally and secure the rule of law in our republic. We take great exception with the manner in which elected parliamentary leaders are being intimidated and purged without any reason. The planned removal of the Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Professor Kithure Kindiki, which comes hot on the heels of the illegal oust of Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen and Majority Whip Senator Susan Keheka, is scandalous and democratic, and is intended to subdue Parliament in its role as it checks the excesses of the executive. This is the height of betrayal of individuals who worked tirelessly to not only ensure the Jubilee Party wins the last general election, but guarded the administration in their respective positions while ensuring fairness and upholding the rule of law. We continue to reach out to our friends in the non-governmental sector, locally, and all our friends beyond our borders, including those to whom we have written through the foreign missions. We have also alerted human rights watchdog organizations, including the International Criminal Court, to consider investigating many incidents of human rights violations and possibly escalate towards international crimes and crimes against humanity. The consistent violation of human rights, the increase in political intimidation, the use of violence against citizens, the planned assassination of politicians, and the incipient climate of repression, autocratic tyranny, violence, repression, arbitrary contractions of democratic space, and threats to human rights and fundamental freedoms are matters of great concern that must be resisted forcibly and perpetrators ultimately called to account. End of statement.
Let me just want to add one statement. Kenyans are aware of where we have come from as a country, and it took us even the death of very many prominent Kenyans to die for this country to reach where we are here. But we are beginning to drift back to those days. But if it will take death of the Kenyans who are perceived to be allied with the Deputy President, if it will take sacking and the intimidation of civil servants who are betrayed by their surname, or rather by their association, to get this country back to where it was. So be it. We are ready to put our life online like so many Kenyans have done it before.
Well, those are live pictures coming to us from Parliament, where Jubilee lawmakers are currently addressing the media. Currently talking, of course, is Didmas Baraza, Kimilili Member of Parliament, but before him was South Mugirango Member of Parliament, Silvana Zosoro. Among other things, the view that they seem to be holding is that they decry of harassment, and more so what they term as elected leaders being harassed. They have termed an act of political betrayal the awaiting action of Senate Deputy Speaker Kithure Kindiki. They have also voiced their concern as well on human rights violation and have called on international courts to investigate. Of course, this is a developing story that we'll be covering up for you in our subsequent bulletins, so keep tuned. Moving on, more than 30 households in Mekere village have been left stranded after River Tana changed its course, sweeping away their houses, crops and animals. Over 48,000 residents in Tana County have been displaced by the ongoing floods. Lydia Gashomo with the details.
This is a humanitarian crisis with the devastating consequences. From above, the villages are sunk. You will hardly believe this piece of land was once home to the affected people. The rains have swept away their homes. What remains are just structures that were once their houses. Ali Bakari, a resident of Mekere village, says residents have been forced to seek shelter in the forest.
Tunaambiwa tuhame juu. Wale ambao kwamba manyumba yao yameshabomoka, sasa hii tumeenda tunakaa na shida. Na wale wengi bado tuko hapa ndani ya mji. Tunaambiwa tuondoke twende juu tukahame huko. Hatuna pesa za kwenda kuhimili haraka huko.
The victims are appealing to the government and well-wishers to come to their rescue.
Tunaomba serikali tusaidie. Tumekubali kuhama kutoka hii mji. Watusaidie.
In his visit to the area, Tana River County Governor Dado Godana says that the only solution to the floods disaster is the construction of new homes in safe zones.
The county government, in our own assessment of situations, we thought the best way is not just to move these people to higher grounds, but to organize them into bigger settlements and integrate it with the urban agenda of the county.
Tana River has a population of 315,914 people, and data shows that 15 wards have been affected by the disaster. Lydia Gashomo, TV47.
All right, thank you, Lydia Gashomo, for that report. Nonetheless, I'd love to take you back again to Parliament building, where currently a section of Jubilee leaders are equally addressing the media. Currently speaking is Gatundu South lawmaker Moses Kuria. Let's cross over there and listen in.
We'd rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Hakuna wakati tutakubali kuishi kwa vitisho. Hizi vitisho pia zilikuwa zimeelekezwa kwetu ambao tuko kwa budget. Tukubali ile budget ililetwa. I am very proud of us who have refused that budget, and our chairman made a statement in the house, and now they have brought another budget for stimulus, which we will even reject until money is taken to the people, not just to buy vehicles and to give to rich people in the flowers industry. Selfishly, we will ensure that we put money where it is going to help Mwananchi who is suffering, people who are jobless at home, people in the hotel industry who have been retrenched and all over. We are not going, if these intimidations was to force us a certain way, we are going to do things the right way. To achieve those constitutional changes that they want, you need 2/3 majority. And obviously there is no way they can get 2/3 in this house. So please kujeni tuongee. Tuko tayari. But not by force. No matter how many times you try to intimidate, if you want changes, if those changes are for the good of the country. Now, the committee for Haji has been set aside. Instead, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga have selected their own lawyers who are drafting this report. These Haji were just for allowances only. Yeah? They're just flower girls. Now there's a team which is about to force this on all of us. And by the way, one of them, Raila Odinga, is our competitor in 2022. Yet he is now drafting the changes that are going to determine how the game in which he is.
All right, that is Gatundu South lawmaker Moses Kuria, among other Jubilee Party leaders. Of course, officials elected in the Jubilee Party addressing the media as the disquiet in the ruling party continues. Of course, as I promised earlier on, we'll be bringing you up to speed of how bigger the jumble in the ruling party gets. Time for us to take a short break here on News Deck. We still have a lot lined up for you. We'll be back with more news after this break.
LevelPesa.com. Have you closed your
Welcome back to News Deck. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. To more news now, Uasin Gishu County Assembly has approved motion on adoption of budget and appropriation report on the Uasin Gishu County debt management strategy. Moving the motion, the county is allowed to borrow up to 20% of its total budget as provided in law.
Report before us, Mr. Speaker, I want to
has accepted the apology and Honorable Muya
House, and we really depend on them. I mentioned,
Mr. Speaker, sir, as proposed by the CEC, we are not expecting to borrow any money for now because we are doing a balanced budget. The only challenge, Mr. Speaker, right now is the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of the local revenue collection. Mr. Speaker, sir, we might not achieve our targets in terms of revenue collection because the business are not thriving right now, Mr. Speaker. So it might affect us adversely. In that case, Mr. Speaker, it does not warrant that we borrow money for the short-term financing, but in case of anything, Mr. Speaker, we can do a supplementary budget so that we can revise our programs
to be in line with the budget or with the resource envelope.
If we are forced to borrow, we borrow to this maximum. That is what is not yet set, so that we don't just close ourselves out completely. If something comes up, then it calls for us doing another paper. So this way is a good thing to do, and this is a constitutional requirement that we should have this paper before 28th of February every year. But this has come this time, and we are really here today to approve it and allow the county to move as it is required by law. Mr. Speaker, I support this report and call upon all the honourable members to support the report. And all the other things shall follow later. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Elsewhere, a family in Dawa, Mbere North, Embu County woke up to a shock when they found their farm crops drying up to what they suspect to be sprayed chemicals. The family father claims that their lives are in danger following a series of targeted incidents over a piece of land. Take a look.
Hii mahindi iliwekwa dawa na Agostino Jagi Ngungi akisemaga shamba ni yake, na mimi nasema shamba ni ya baba yangu, na niko na makaratasi nikamwonyesha saa hii msome nyinyi wenyewe, nikawa tu shamba ni ya baba yangu, niite Muhirega tukutane. Lakini yeye hajasikia, na hata wasa hata kukatakata mapati yangu, sofa set, nyumba kanipomoa, kila kitu yote, hata nyau yenyewe ilikuwa na watoto wane akaweka kwa ndiko wote. Ananifanya ile ajabu hata sijaona.
Alituhamisa huku tukaenda kwa Ronjini na watoto wangu huko kwa Ronjini, ndio tulikaa mpaka saa hii. Hii shamba ndio tegemeo yangu, hata watoto wangu, na hii shamba ni yetu.
Kwa hisani yenu ninaomba kwa watu wote wanisaidie kwa vile nilifanywa na nikafanyika. Na ninaomba hata kwa serikali, kwa sababu chifu ni hapa tuko naye, kwa hata nikipiga nduru sababu chifu ndio wa mbele kusikia, na hata sasa anjafika kwangu.
Elsewhere, the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in the country and the government's directive to prevent its spread has resulted in isolation and neglect of elderly members of the community. Our reporter Calvin Chitwa brings us the story of Jiga invested elderly men and other needy people in Uasin Gishu County, and efforts by some residents to support such neglected and forgotten members of the community.
Ruben Chelal lights fire to warm his house following the heavy rains that have been pounding his village. The 75-year-old man stays alone in Bondeni, Uasin Gishu County.
Shida yangu ni nyumba, kuweka mtope, tandikiwa na chakula ya kukula.
This parcel of land was bought for him by his former employer after retiring as a herdsman.
Sina uwezo lote ya nguvu ya kufanya kazi ya kutosheka. Chakula mpaka mimi naendanga tu napewa, mwingine nachotia kama kurukuru.
His plight caught the attention of some residents from a church in the neighborhood, and they came to show compassion.
Much as we are having the pandemic, the corona pandemic, as a problem now in Kenya and many other places of the world, there are such people who really need us. They quite need us. We should not forget them. We should actually help them. The administration of this place, I don't know how much you are doing for these people. Other people in our country, there are many people who are really suffering.
And in Mwanzo, Shauriako, Mailinne, Kamukunji and Baharini estates also in Uasin Gishu, many elderly people are facing the same challenges of neglect by society and authorities.
Unapata watu wengine ambao wako katika hali mbaya sana, na naomba yoyote yule ambaye ako na uwezo na na upendo pia wakaweze kuja ama waende sehemu zingine zile za Kenya. Watu wameathirika kabisa, hawana chakula, hawana, wengine ni wagonjwa. Hali ni sio nzuri vile. Hali sio nzuri, naposema wagonjwa sio kwa sababu ya corona, lakini kwa sababu hawana pesa hata ya matibabu peke yake.
Corona imeharibu kila kazi. Hata kijana yangu ni mkubwa, hana kazi, msichana ndio huyu. Sasa tunakaa tu hapa hivi.
Some well-wishers have embarked on a campaign to sensitize the needy about measures to curb the spread of coronavirus. They moved door to door, supporting the elderly with food as well as providing them with face masks. Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Uasin Gishu County.
Now, after Kabuga's arrest on the 16th of May, the Rwandan genocide suspect appeared in a French court on Wednesday. His lawyer said Kabuga wished to be tried in France. Take a look.
In the Paris Court of Appeal, Kabuga's lawyers requested the court for more time to work on Kabuga's defense. According to the court, Kabuga's lawyers were given 8 more days to prepare for his defense. His hearing was adjourned to May 27th.
He's among the organizer. He's like a top people who have organized the genocide. He was around during the genocide committed against Tutsi. He supported financially, he supported in different ways. Even we are sure after the genocide, he was among the people who supported the people who are doing negationism, the deniers. So the arrest of a key person like Kabuga, I can say is a success to justice around the world. Yeah.
Kabuga was charged by the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, in 1997 on 7 counts of genocide, complicity in genocide, direct and public incitement to commit genocide, attempt to commit genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, persecution and extermination, all in relation to crimes committed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. We spoke to a few local residents to give us their take on the arrest of Kabuga.
Kuko umuntu wakoze icyaha nyine agomba kugihanirwa. Umuntu utinyuka kugura imihoro yo kwambura ubuzima bw'abantu aba ari inyamaswa pe. So ikintu navuga rero ubutabera bukore icyo bushinzwe akanirwa umukwiye.
Mu gukomeza gukora iperereza.
Every Rwandan should help the Ministry of Justice in tracing all other suspects so that they can serve their punishments. We are all in this together.
Umunyarwanda ukumva yuko gomba gutanga makuru.
Due to travel difficulties caused by COVID-19, Kabuga could be held under custody at a UN detention facility in the Netherlands where he will stand trial. Kabuga, 84, was arrested outside Paris on Saturday after 25 years on the run. He has been accused of being the major financier of the Rwandan genocide that left at least 800,000 people dead. Diana Iriza, Kigali, Rwanda.
Thank you, our reporter Diana Iriza, for that report. Remember, Kabuga is accused of being the mastermind of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Of course, this is a story as well that we'll be following up for you and reporting to you of the development in as far as this story is concerned. Well, that brings us to the end of today's edition of News Deck. I am Abubakar Abdullahi. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of our programs.